Princess Lyra, heir to the galaxy's most advanced empire, saw her human fiancé, Jake Morrison, as nothing more than a harmless political pawn, a gentleman who cared more for poetry than power. She thought his humility was weakness. It took a devastating invasion that crumbled her millennia-old civilization for Lyra to realize the quiet diplomat she married was, in fact, humanity's most elite and utterly ruthless weapon, hiding the destiny of her entire species behind a courteous smile and the deceptive gleam of a decorative sword. Princess Lyra stood by the tall glass windows of the palace, watching. Below, the human ship settled onto the platform. The light of 3 burning suns caught her purple skin, making it shimmer. Today was the day she would meet the man she was obligated to marry. The Valkyrie people, tall and impossibly elegant, had ruled this section of space for millennia. They possessed natural psionic powers, their minds capable of moving objects and their technology far beyond the comprehension of most other species. They knew, without a doubt, they were the galaxy's premier civilization. Humans, however, were an anomaly. They'd only figured out star travel 60 years ago. Young, small, and seen by most Valkyrie as children still learning to tie their boots in a cosmic sense. Lyra's father, Emperor Thanos, had arranged this political marriage, a peace treaty sealed in blood and duty. Lyra had accepted her role, but her expectations for this union were, honestly, non-existent. The human delegation entered the throne room, and Lyra assessed them instantly. Stiff postures, formal suits, but then her eyes landed on him. Tall, dark brown hair, and striking gray eyes. Jake Morrison, her future husband, moved with a natural, unforced grace. He stepped forward, his bow to her father was precise, and his voice, when he spoke, was calm, respectful, and entirely composed. He thanked the emperor and wished for a lasting, strong friendship. Later that day, Lyra and Jake met privately in the palace gardens, amidst flowers collected from 100 worlds. Jake was curious, intensely so. He asked for the names of the plants, their uses, their stories. "You seem very interested in our culture," Lyra remarked, studying him. Jake gave a genuine smile. "I believe that understanding brings respect, and respect brings peace." Over the next few weeks, he was a dedicated student. He mastered the complex Valkyrie language quickly, stumbled on the hard sounds, and then perfected them. He never once complained about the tedious rituals required before a royal wedding. Lyra found herself unexpectedly warming to him. Jake was genuinely kind to the staff, always remembering their names. He listened far more than he spoke, a rarity among the humans she'd encountered. He told her stories about Earth, its vast oceans, and sailing beneath a single, yellow sun. "I used to be a pilot," Jake mentioned one evening over a meal. "I flew for the Human Defense Corps for a while, but I decided diplomacy suited me better." He changed the subject immediately. Lyra noticed, but didn't press. Everyone had parts of their past they preferred to leave undisturbed. The royal advisors were thrilled with him. Lyra was fortunate to marry such a gentle, undemanding man, they said. He wouldn't challenge Valkyrie traditions or cause any problems at court. He seemed perfectly content to support her from the background. Jake had brought very few personal items. One was a simple sword, which he mounted on his wall. It had a plain metal hilt and a blade of dark, almost black glass. When Lyra asked, Jake called it a family heirloom, a simple reminder of home. It looked purely decorative, completely useless against Valkyrie energy weapons and biological constructs. Nothing more than a museum piece. The wedding ceremony was held on a warm evening, bathed in the light of the low-hanging suns. Thousands of guests gathered. Lyra wore traditional silver robes, Jake, formal earth black. Their vows were exchanged flawlessly. Jake's hands were steady as he placed the ceremonial bracelet on her wrist. His voice never wavered. When they were officially married, the grand hall exploded in applause. After the feast, Jake moved into the royal quarters, his rooms adjusted for Earth's gravity and atmosphere. He established a swift, simple routine, early exercise, long hours studying Valkyrie history and law, and quiet attendance at Lyra's functions. The staff loved him. He helped them carry heavy items, insisting it was proper, and even practiced Valkyrie meditation with the palace monks, sitting perfectly still for hours. Months of peace drifted by. Lyra found she truly enjoyed his company. He was intelligent, funny, and surprisingly insightful on philosophy and art. They talked late into the night, finding surprising similarities between their disparate worlds. The sword on his wall remained untouched, a silent, dusty decoration. Lyra's friends told her she'd made a spectacular match. Jake was exactly what a royal consort should be, pleasant, supportive, and absolutely harmless. Only occasionally did Lyra catch a glimpse of something else in his eyes, a fleeting, cold flash when he thought he was alone. A look of deep, distant calculation. But it always passed quickly, replaced by his gentle smile. Life continued, a predictable, harmonious rhythm. Days bled into weeks. The marriage was a success. No one suspected that the quiet human prince had ever lived another life. And no one could have predicted that the decorative sword on the wall would soon be the difference between the survival and the total destruction of the Valkyrie Empire. The storm was gathering, but for now, there was only a deceiving calm. 6 months after the wedding, everything shattered. Lyra was reviewing reports when her father's assistant burst in, his face ghostly pale. "Princess, you need to see this immediately." Lyra took the data pad. Her blood ran cold. 3 Valkyrie Outer Rim colonies had been obliterated. Not conquered, but wiped out. Millions were dead. The attackers were the Krell Supremacy, a coalition of 6 aggressive species that had been silent for years. She ran to the throne room, where her father, Emperor Thanos, was already convening his military commanders. Jake was there, standing quietly in the corner, as usual. The generals shouted strategies. "We will crush them." "Deploy the psionic warriors," roared Commander Zephan, head of the fleet. But the reports that followed were catastrophic. The Krell used never-before-seen weapons and tactics. Their powerful shields blocked psionic attacks. Their plasma cannons tore through Valkyrie ships like tissue. In 3 days, 2 more colonies fell, and an entire Valkyrie battle fleet was annihilated. Emperor Thanos, suddenly looking ancient, asked his commanders for options. They proposed the same tired, millennia-old strategies: superior technology, biological weapons, faith in Valkyrie supremacy. "And what do you think, Prince Jake?" the Emperor asked, surprising everyone. Jake stepped forward, and Lyra noticed a shift in his posture, a precision, like a predator deciding on a target. "With respect, Your Majesty, I think the Valkyrie should prepare to defend the core worlds." Zephan let out a harsh, echoing laugh. "Defend? We are Valkyrie. We do not hide. And what would a human know about real warfare? You flew cargo ships and smile at parties. Leave strategy to actual warriors." Jake gave no visible reaction to the insult, simply nodding and stepping back. But Lyra saw the faint, telltale tightening of his jaw. That night, Lyra found Jake in his quarters. He was standing before the sword on the wall, his hand hovering near the hilt, looking like a man at a crucial crossroads. "Jake," she said softly. "What Zephan said was wrong. You didn't deserve that." He turned to face her, and Lyra instinctively stepped back. His expression was not anger or hurt. It was colder than that. It was pure, distilled calculation. "He was not wrong," Jake said. "I have been playing a role, Lyra. Being the harmless human everyone expected. It was easier that way." He reached up and took the sword from the wall. The moment his fingers closed around the hilt, the room transformed. The blade ignited with a brilliant, pulsing blue light that filled the entire chamber. It hummed with a dangerous, wild energy that felt utterly alien to Valkyrie technology. "This is called a Sky Reaver," Jake said, holding the weapon with absolute familiarity. There are only 12 of them. They are carried by the 12 members of humanity's most elite Special Operations Unit. We are called the 12. Lyra stared from the glowing blade to her husband. You were one of them. I am one of them, Jake corrected. I never stopped being one of the 12. I just took a different assignment. I was sent to build bridges and gather intelligence. The diplomatic work was real, and so is our marriage. But my primary training was not in negotiation. He moved the sword in a complex, mesmerizing pattern. The blue light trailed behind the blade. Every movement was perfect, the result of thousands of hours of instinctual practice. The Human Defense Corps has many divisions, Jake continued. They patrol, escort, and respond to pirates. But the 12 exist for another reason. We are sent to places where peace has already failed, where the only language left is violence. He deactivated the blade. It went dark, but Lyra could no longer unsee what she had just witnessed. Her gentle husband had been hiding a consummate warrior. How many, she whispered. How many missions? 37 combat deployments over 8 years, Jake said, his voice flat. I have fought on 16 different worlds. I have killed more people than I can count. Most of the wars I fought are still classified. Your intelligence services know nothing about them, because that is how we operate. We end threats before they become public knowledge. Lyra sank onto a chair. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to try being someone else, Jake said quietly. I wanted to be the kind man who cares about flowers and reads poetry. I liked that version of myself. I liked who I was with you. He hung the sword back on the wall, but now it radiated power. But the Krell are coming, and the Valkyrie military is not ready. Your people have forgotten what real war looks like. The next morning, the council met again. More worlds had fallen. The Krell would reach the core systems in less than 2 weeks. Emperor Thanos looked utterly defeated. The human government's nearest fleet is 3 weeks away. We do not have 3 weeks. Jake spoke from his quiet corner. Your Majesty, with your permission, I would like to make a communication to Earth. There may be another option. Zephyr started to object, but the Emperor silenced him. Please, Prince Jake. At this point, I will consider anything. Jake used a secure device, speaking in a rapid-fire code and using phrases that made no sense to the Valkyrie. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes. He turned back to the council. The 12 can be here in 18 hours, Jake stated. We will need access to your military command center and full authorization to coordinate defensive operations. Zephyr shot to his feet, enraged. 12 soldiers. You want us to trust our survival to 12 humans? This is madness. Yes, Jake said, simply. 12 soldiers, but not ordinary soldiers. If you give us command authority, we can break the Krell advance. We have dealt with worse. Emperor Thanos looked at his daughter. Lyra met her father's gaze and gave a firm nod. She had seen the sword light up. She had seen the truth in Jake's eyes. Whatever he was not lying now. Very well, the Emperor declared. You have 18 hours. We will see what 12 humans can do against an army. Lyra caught Jake's arm in the hallway. Are you certain? He looked at her, and she saw the perfect fusion of the gentleman she married and the warrior he was born to be. No, he admitted. But it is what we do. The 12 protect people who cannot protect themselves, even if those people do not believe they need protection. 18 hours later, 12 black drop pods plunged from the sky like controlled meteors, landing with precise impact in the palace courtyard. 11 warriors emerged, joining Jake. Each carried a sky reaver. Each moved with the same economical, lethal grace. Among them was a woman with a long scar down her face. She gripped Jake's shoulder. Good to see you, brother. Though I wish the circumstances were better. Lisa, Jake said, returning the gesture. Thanks for coming. The woman, Lisa Grant, looked around at the assembled Valkyrie guards. So, this is the mighty empire we've heard so much about. Let's hope they're ready to see how humans fight when we stop being polite. The 12 had arrived. The real war was about to begin. The 12 stood in a tight circle in the courtyard, their voices low. Lyra watched from the balcony. They didn't look like epic heroes. They were scarred, their armor matte black and gray. But the way they moved prickled her skin with the undeniable awareness of danger. Jake, among them, stood straighter, his voice carried a different, quiet authority. This was his true element. The past 6 months, Lyra realized, had been the disguise. Lisa Grant, the scarred leader, looked up at Lyra, gave a brief, respectful nod, and turned back to Jake. Brief us. What are we dealing with? Jake activated a holographic display. Red markers indicated the Krell fleet, blue, the remnants of the Valkyrie defense. The screen was overwhelmingly red. The Krell supremacy has been building in secret, Jake explained. Their tech is comparable, but their tactics are pure aggression. They take no prisoners. They want to make an example of the Valkyrie. Over 2,000 ships in the main fleet, maybe 500,000 ground troops. They've taken 12 worlds in 8 days. At this pace, they reached this planet in 5. And the Valkyrie military, asked one of the 12, a huge man covered in tattoos. Not ready, Jake said, bluntly. They relied on technological superiority so long they forgot how to fight an equal opponent. Their tactics are outdated. Their warriors are mostly ceremonial. So, a thin woman with cold eyes interjected, what's the plan? Jake zoomed in on 3 enormous ships at the center of the Krell formation. These are their command carriers. The entire fleet is coordinated from them. If we can take them out, the rest of the fleet falls into chaos. Strong central leadership is both their strength and their weakness. The huge man laughed, a short, dark sound. So, we need to get past 2,000 warships, board 3 carriers, fight through thousands of enemy soldiers, and assassinate the leadership. Simple. Yes, Jake replied, without humor. Simple. Lisa studied the hologram. We need a Krell shuttle to breach the outer defenses. They captured one last week. Damaged, but functional, Jake confirmed. Then we can do this, Lisa concluded. Standard infiltration. Team Alpha takes the primary carrier. Beta takes the secondary. Charlie is reserve and extraction. Jake, you lead Alpha, you know their command structure best. The 12 nodded, their movements precise as they checked their equipment. No prayers, no rituals. Just practical, efficient preparation. Jake came to the balcony to speak with Lyra. He was in his armor now, the Sky Reaver strapped to his back. He looked like a stranger, but his eyes were the same. I need to speak to your father and his commanders. They need to understand what is about to happen. In the war room, Emperor Thanos and his generals waited. Zephan looked livid. When Jake and the 12 entered, the Valkyrie officers stared with a mix of curiosity and disdain. Jake brought up the tactical display and laid out the plan. As he spoke, Zephan's face moved from outrage to disbelief. This is suicide. Zephan spat. You want to fly one shuttle into a fleet of thousands and somehow fight your way to the command ships? It cannot be done. It has been done before, Lisa said calmly. We infiltrated the Zarek High Fleet 3 years ago. That was 15,000 ships. The Zarek fleet is smaller. No one has heard of the Zarek, another general scoffed. Exactly, Lisa replied. Because we eliminated them before they could become a known threat. That is what we do. Emperor Thanos raised his hand. Prince Jake, what is the probability of success? Jake met his father-in-law's eyes. Honestly? Maybe 60%. But if we do nothing, the probability of survival for your empire is 0. The Krell will not stop. This is your only real chance. The Emperor looked at Lyra. He was asking for her opinion without words. She thought of the man she married and the blue fire of the sword. Give them command authority, Lyra said. Let them try. Enough, Emperor Thanos commanded, cutting off Zephin's protest. The 12 have authorization. Commander Zephin, you will provide them with whatever support they require. That is an order. The 12 launched at dawn. Lyra insisted on watching from the command center. The captured Krell shuttle, tiny and fragile, flew toward the massive enemy fleet, broadcasting captured identification codes. Lyra held her breath as enemy sensors swept over it. Then, the shuttle was cleared to dock with the largest command carrier. Video feeds from the 12's armor cameras flickered onto the main screen. Lyra watched as they emerged into a Krell hangar bay. The Krell were massive, four-armed, and heavily armored. What happened next was too fast for the eye to track. The 12 drew their Sky Reaver swords, and the blue energy blades ignited. They moved through the hangar bay like a single, devastating storm, cutting through soldiers and equipment. The Krell couldn't even raise an alarm. Alpha Team is inside the primary carrier, moving to the bridge, Jake's voice crackled over the comms. Lyra watched her husband lead his team through the narrow corridors. Krell soldiers rushed to meet them with plasma fire and massive war clubs, but the 12 were faster, dodging and weaving. Every movement was precise, economical, there was no wasted energy. When a blast door blocked their path, one of the 12 placed a device on it. The door simply vanished, its molecules disintegrated by an unknown technology. Back in the command center, the Valkyrie officers watched in stunned, horrified silence. Zephin's face was white. These weren't soldiers as the Valkyrie understood them. These were something entirely new. Jake's team reached an intersection where 50 Krell warriors had formed a defensive line. Standard tactics would demand a prolonged, bloody firefight. Instead, Jake gave a hand signal, the 12 split instantly, and hit the line from 3 directions at once. The swords cut through armor and shields like paper. The battle lasted 90 seconds. 50 Krell were down. The 12 were already moving again. Beta Team has secured the secondary carrier's engineering section. Planting charges now, Lisa Grant reported. Charlie Team is securing extraction point. We have multiple Krell ships converging, but nothing we can't handle. Lyra couldn't look away from the screen, watching Jake fight with a skill that defied human possibility. He moved like water, flowing around attacks, striking with impossible accuracy. The Sky Reaver was an extension of his will. The 12 reached the bridge of the primary carrier. The reinforced doors should have stopped them, but Jake's team arranged themselves and drove their swords into the metal simultaneously. The door glowed white-hot, then exploded inward. Inside, dozens of Krell officers and guards opened fire, filling the air with energy bolts. Yet, miraculously, none of them connected. The 12 flowed between the shots, striking with perfect synchronicity. In under a minute, the bridge was secured. At its center stood the largest Krell Lyra had ever seen, War Master Croft, Supreme Commander of the Krell fleet. He wore ornate, battle-honored armor and carried a massive, crackling warhammer. Croft looked at Jake and laughed, a deep rumble. You are the human they sent. You are smaller than I expected. Come, let us see if you can fight as well as you can sneak. Jake didn't speak. He simply raised his Sky Reaver, waiting. The duel began. War Master Croft, twice Jake's size, with 4 arms and a hammer that hummed with power, struck first. The blow was devastatingly fast. It should have crushed Jake into the deck plates, but Jake simply shifted his weight and slipped to the side, the hammer passing close enough to stir his hair. In the same motion, the Sky Reaver lashed out, cutting a shallow line across Croft's thick armor, a proof of concept. He could be hit. Croft roared and attacked again, using all 4 arms in a coordinated grab-and-smash assault that should have been impossible to defend against. Jake moved like smoke, ducking the grab, stepping inside the hammer's arc, and driving his blade upward. The Sky Reaver punched clean through Krotha's chest plate. The War Master staggered back, surprise etched on his alien face. Lyra gripped the console. She had never seen anything like Jake's movements, no wasted motion, no hesitation, no fear. Kroth abandoned technique and threw himself forward in a blind rage. The hammer came down like a meteor, cracking the metal deck plates where Jake had been a heartbeat before. Jake rolled to his feet and struck again, severing one of Krotha's arms at the elbow. The duel lasted 90 seconds from start to finish. When it ended, Kroth lay dead on the floor of his own bridge. Jake stood over him, not breathing hard, the Sky Reaver still glowing blue. Jake walked to the main console and activated the transmission. His face appeared on every screen in the Krell fleet. His voice was calm and utterly certain. "This is Jake Morrison of the 12. Your War Master is dead. Your command structure is broken. I am broadcasting from your primary carrier, which is now under our control. You have one chance to retreat with your lives. Any ship that turns away and jumps to hyperspace will not be pursued. Any ship that continues toward Valkyrie space will be destroyed. You have 5 minutes to decide." He cut the transmission. In the Valkyrie command center, a tense silence fell as they watched the tactical display. Hundreds of red Krell ships hovered, trying to process the impossible. Beta team has secured the secondary carrier. Charges planted. "Waiting on your signal, Jake," Lisa Grant's voice came over the comms. "Charlie team has the tertiary carrier's weapons offline. The ship is dead in space." "Emperor Thanos," Jake commanded, his voice now carrying across the room via the comms. "I need you to move your remaining fleet into position. Show the Krell they are surrounded. They need to believe that retreat is their only option." Zephan, his face pale, gave the orders. The Valkyrie ships moved, the blue markers closing around the red on the display. The trap was set. 3 minutes passed. Then one Krell ship broke formation and jumped to hyperspace. Then 10 more. But some of the Krell chose to fight. About 300 ships turned, powering their weapons, charging toward the Valkyrie positions. "Lisa, detonate the charges," Jake's voice was cold. The secondary command carrier exploded from the inside, a massive blast that took out a dozen Krell ships instantly. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. At the same moment, Jake took control of the primary carrier's weapons. The enormous ship began firing on its own fleet. The Krell had not anticipated this. Dozens of vessels were destroyed before they could react. The remaining Krell panicked. The Valkyrie fleet, seeing their chance, pressed the attack. What had been an organized military force became a terrified, chaotic mob. The 12, having planned for this, disrupted enemy formation and communications from the captured carriers. Jake and Alpha Team fought their way off the primary carrier, moving like black shadows through the corridors, eliminating all resistance. They reached the hangar bay, where they found their shuttle surrounded by Krell soldiers. "New plan," Jake said calmly. He pointed at a Krell fighter craft. "We take that." The 12 sliced through the surrounding Krell soldiers in mere seconds, piling into the fighter, which was barely large enough to hold all of them. Jake took the pilot's seat and fired the engines. The fighter shot out of the hangar just as enemy reinforcements arrived. Lyra watched the fighter weave through the chaotic battle on the main screen, dodging energy fire and debris. Several Krell ships tried to intercept, but Jake flew with the same terrifying precision he had shown in close combat. The fighter danced between obstacles, always staying one impossible move ahead of destruction. Charlie Team had secured a safe landing zone on one of the Valkyrie capital ships. Jake brought the fighter in fast, skidding across the deck, barely avoiding a crash. But they were safe. On the tactical display, the battle was undeniably turning. Half of the Krell fleet had already jumped to hyperspace, choosing survival over their commander's pride. Of the ships that remained, most were damaged or destroyed. The Valkyrie fleet, spurred by this miracle, pressed their advantage and drove the enemy back. Within 6 hours of the 12's initial infiltration, the battle was over. The mighty Krell Supremacy fleet had been routed. The few survivors would carry back stories of what happened, of how 12 humans broke an empire. The warriors return and the new alliance. The 12 returned to the palace that evening. They were exhausted, covered in scorch marks and battle evidence, but all 12 were alive. Not a single loss. Lyra ran to Jake as soon as his shuttle landed. She didn't care that he was dirty, covered in alien blood, or that the entire royal court was watching. She threw her arms around him and held him tight. "I thought I had lost you," she whispered. "I told you we had dealt with worse," Jake said, returning her fierce embrace. The 12 always complete the mission. Lisa Grant walked past them, motioning the rest of the team toward the palace. "Let them have a moment. We need food, medical attention, and about 12 hours of sleep, not necessarily in that order." Emperor Thanos came out to greet them personally, his old eyes now seeing the 12 for what they truly were, weapons capable of altering the course of history. "You saved my empire," Thanos said, his voice heavy with gratitude. "Name your reward. Anything within my power is yours." Lisa stepped forward to speak for the group. "We don't need gold or titles, Your Majesty. But we do need something from you. The human race is young, and we face threats your people cannot yet imagine. We need allies, not subjects. We need partners, not admirers. Can the Valkyrie Empire finally see humans as equals?" A silence fell over the throne room. This was an enormous request. The Valkyrie had seen themselves as superior for thousands of years. To acknowledge humans as equals would mean rewriting their entire civilization's self-concept. Emperor Thanos looked at Lyra, then at Jake, who still held his daughter's hand. He looked at the 12 warriors who had succeeded where his own military failed. Finally, he looked at Commander Zephan, whose face showed a hard-won lesson in strength and pride. "Yes," the Emperor said. "From this day forward, the Human Federation and the Valkyrie Empire are equal partners. We will write a new treaty that reflects this truth, and we will ensure both our peoples remember who stood beside us when darkness came calling." The 12 bowed respectfully. Lisa turned to Jake, her scarred face pulling into a smile. "Your assignment here is complete, if you want to come back. The 12 always have room for you." Jake looked at Lyra, at the life he had built, at the love he had found. Then he looked at his team, at the life he had left behind. "I think I will stay," Jake said. "Someone needs to teach the Valkyrie how to fight like humans. Besides, I made promises when I got married. I intend to keep them." Lisa nodded, as if she had expected this answer. "Then this is goodbye for now, brother." The Burden and the Builder. Celebrations lasted for 3 days, but Jake did not participate. Lyra found him sitting alone in the palace gardens, beneath a tree from his home world that had been planted as a wedding gift. He was staring at nothing. "The people want to see you," Lyra said, sitting beside him. "They are calling you a hero." Jake shook his head slowly. "I am not a hero. Heroes are people who sacrifice for others without counting the cost. What I did was just work. Necessary, but not heroic. I saved millions of lives, yes, but I took thousands of lives to do it." Jake finally looked at her, his gray eyes tired. "That is what people don't understand about the 12. We exist because someone has to do the terrible things. Someone has to walk into the darkness and fight the monsters. But that doesn't make us heroes. It makes us necessary." Lyra took his hand, feeling the hardened calluses. "Tell me about the 12. How did you become one of them?" Jake spoke for a long time, his voice low and steady. He recounted his life, the military, the brutal training, the missions that had scarred his body and his mind. "There are things I have done that I cannot tell you about," he admitted. I've made choices that still haunt my sleep. Then why did you stay for so long? Because someone had to do it. If people like me don't stand between innocent civilians and the things that want to hurt them, those civilians die. I chose this burden so others wouldn't have to carry it. Lyra understood then. He hadn't been putting down the burden during their first months of marriage, he'd been trying to be someone who never had to pick it up again. But the burden, like the Krell, had found him. A new legacy. In the weeks that followed, the Valkyrie Empire began to transform. Emperor Thanos announced the new treaty, and while some old noble houses resisted, the common people had seen the truth. They had watched 12 humans break an army where Valkyrie tradition had failed. Young Valkyrie began volunteering for military service in numbers not seen in centuries. They wanted to learn how to fight like humans. Emperor Thanos asked Jake to train a new corps of warriors in human combat methods. At first, Jake was reluctant, but Lyra convinced him that building stronger allies was the best path to long-term peace. The training was brutal. Jake held nothing back. Commander Zephan was among the recruits, having personally requested to join. He swallowed his pride and accepted correction, proving to be a dedicated student. One evening, bruised from sparring, Zephan approached Jake. I was wrong about you, Zephan admitted. I thought you were weak because you seemed gentle. I didn't understand that gentleness is a choice made by strong people. The truly weak cannot afford to be gentle. You were working with incomplete information, Jake said, accepting the apology simply. What matters is learning from mistakes. Months passed, and the new Valkyrie warrior corps took shape, training alongside human advisors. The fusion of Valkyrie's psionic abilities and human combat tactics created a unique and powerful fighting force. Lyra watched her husband carefully. Which one is real, she asked one night. The warrior, or the diplomat? Jake smiled, the gentle smile she knew best. Both, and neither. Maybe I'm both things at once. We are all more complicated than the roles we play. He took her hand. When I was fighting the Krell, every decision was clear. Survive and win. But in peacetime, everything is more complicated. I have to think about politics, and feelings, and long-term consequences. It's harder, in some ways. Anyone can destroy things. Building something that lasts, something worth protecting, that is much harder, and more important. A year after the battle, the new treaty was signed. Jake and Lyra stood together as symbols of the alliance. Lisa Grant returned with the human delegation and sought Jake out. You look good, she said, pulling him into a brief embrace. Do you miss it? She asked. Every day, Jake said honestly. But I am where I need to be. The offer still stands. If you ever want to come back, your sword is waiting. I know, Jake replied. But I think my fighting days are over. Sometimes the hardest thing a warrior can do is choose peace. 2 years passed. The alliance grew strong. Lyra gave birth to a son, the first true human Valkyrie hybrid. Jake held the baby with the same careful precision he once used to hold his sword. Let's name him after hope, Jake said. Something that looks forward instead of back. They named the boy Nathan. He would grow up a bridge between species, belonging to both worlds. Jake still kept the Sky Reaver mounted on his wall, remembering his past, but those memories were softening. He was building something now, a family, a home, a future. One evening, Lyra stood beside him, looking at the dark blade. Do you think we will ever need it again? She asked. Probably, Jake admitted. The galaxy is not a completely safe place. But next time, we will be ready. Both our peoples will be stronger together than either could be alone. He took Lyra's hand. And if the darkness comes calling again, then I will pick up my sword one more time, because that is what guardians do. We protect the things that matter, no matter the cost. He walked away from the sword with his wife, leaving it dark and silent on the wall. Outside, their son was crying, needing to be fed. There was life to be lived, full of ordinary concerns and daily joys. The sword would wait in darkness, ready if needed. But for now, there was peace, and Jake Morrison, once a warrior of the 12, was now a prince of peace, a guardian, and a father, building a future where his sword might never have to taste blood again. Let this message ignite your faith, rekindle your hope, and spur you to stand firm on your journey. Thank you for staying with me to the end. If this story stirred your heart, drop a like, share this video with someone who needs it, and hit that subscribe button to catch more content like this. May God's blessings overflow in your life, and I'll see you soon.